Welcome to our Western Rise Voyager Travel 35 backpack review. If you're in the market for a travel bag, you come to the right place. In this video, I'm gonna take my experience from reviewing over 500 of the world's best bags, and we're gonna break down this bag, we're gonna pack it out, I'm gonna give you my honest assessment of the pros and the cons. And you're gonna wanna stick around to the end of the video, because if you're still not quite sure if this is the bag for you, I'm gonna make a couple of alternative recommendations for bags that are similar but have some slight differences. So you can know what the best options are on the market, because here at Nomads Nation, our goal is to help you find the best bag for your needs. Will this be the one? Let's find out by talking about the gist of the Western Rise Voyager Travel Pack 35 liter. Western Rise is a US-based company that has been known for making clothes, really high quality clothes, great for traveling. And this bag is a part of their Voyager collection, which is their first line of backpacks. Some of the Voyager's top features being, it's sort of urban hiker fusion aesthetic, clamshell style opening to the main compartment, side access to the main compartment, a side access water bottle pocket, a big old pocket on the bottom for extra storage, a pretty beefy tech compartment, and a luggage pass-through holder that allows you to carry the bag horizontally on your suitcase. The 35 liter version of the Voyager only comes in one color option, black. Now 35 liters I think is a great size for travel. Used to be like back in the day, 45, 50 liter bags were kind of like the thing, but that's a lot of weight that you have to carry on your back, and airlines are getting more restrictive about what bags you can actually carry on flights. So 35 liters for me is a great sweet spot, especially for carry-on travel. We got a height of around 21.5 inches, a width of around 14 inches, and we'll measure the depth of the bag when it's fully packed out. Now on Western Rise's website, they say this bag weighs 3 pounds, and I gotta admit, it feels a lot heavier, but that's why we test these things. So I'm getting 3.7 pounds on scale number 1, and 3.6 pounds on scale number 2. This is the bag when it's empty, and this is the bag when it's fully packed out and worn on the Nomads Nation team. For reference, I'm 5'8", and our media manager, Margaret, is 5'2". And we're gonna pack out this bag throughout the entire review so you can see exactly what it fits. Western Rise has a warranty that protects you against defects and workmanship, but it's not specified on the website if it's lifetime or not. The details are a bit vague. And for all that, this bag comes in at a pretty hefty price tag of around $350 US. And if at any point in this review you're thinking to yourself, I'm ready to go on a voyage, and I want the Voyager to accompany me, and you're gonna make a purchase or you wanna find out more information, we highly suggest that you do so with the first link in the description below. Reason being, that link makes sure that you get the best price, and we oftentimes have discount codes. But that link also helps support the Nomads Nation YouTube channel and team so we can keep making the best darn bag reviews on the web. Thank you very much. All right, let's talk about the front of the Western Rise Voyager 35 liter travel pack. Starting with the aesthetic, like I said earlier in this review, I kind of think it's like this interesting urban hiker combination. But overall, it's got a pretty sleek silhouette, and there's also not a lot of busyness happening with the front, so it's got a very subtle aesthetic from that perspective. And on the front, you really just have this primary fabric. Now, with the fabrics, we have two primary ones to take into consideration. This is the 420D. It's a ballistic nylon, and ballistic nylon is kind of like a miracle fabric when it comes to backpacks, super abrasion resistant. It's got a really nice look to it while still being a bit more on the subtle side, which I think is very important while you're traveling, so you can kind of go under the radar. And it's also got a bit of weather resistance, but not a lot like, I don't know, like an X-Pack or an Ultra fabric would have. The weather resistance will be improved by a DWR coating that has been applied, but like all coatings, the DWR spray will wear off over time. And the secondary fabric you can see underneath the 420D and also on the bottom and the sides of the bag, and that's a 630D Oxford nylon with a carbonate coating. Coated nylons like this are great for their improved weather resistance, like look how rubbery that is, but sometimes the coating can peel over time. That also extends to the zippers, which you can see here. There's no guarantee this will happen, it just kind of depends on how much usage it gets, how much abrasion it gets, how much exposure to sunlight it gets, but it's definitely something you want to keep in mind. Now we have this front zipper here, which you can see though gives you access to the main compartment. There's no admin compartment with this bag, there's no quick access pocket, which I think for me on a travel bag at this size is great. It just depends on how you personally like to travel. Like if you like a lot of organization, you might miss that admin compartment. But for me, like I'm like a 1.5 bag traveler these days. Bag in the back, sling in the front, sling for your smaller stuff, backpack for the bigger stuff. So for me, this definitely works for my style of travel, but let me know what you think. Like, do you wish there was a bit more organization in the front of this bag? Like some sort of old school admin compartment? Do you like that it's not on the bag at all? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And now that we're looking at the main compartment, let's go ahead and switch to the next section. Let's talk about the middle of the Western Rise Voyager Travel Pack 35 liter. Starting with the bottom, where we have this really interesting pocket. Pocket like this, which you don't always see on travel bags. I'm special. And I think a pocket like this could be good for a few different things. Shoes, or what I might even use it for is like dirty laundry, right? Like so you can kind of keep it away from your cleaner stuff. Pop it in the bottom, then you know what's dirty, nothing's interfering or infecting each other. But one thing to note on the bottom of this bag is sort of with that kind of sexy hyper hiker, was close, hiker, one letter away, technically. With that sexy hiker aesthetic is that it's got like a very nice cut moving up on the bottom of the bag, which is great for sort of aerodynamics and sexification of the bag, but not very great for self-standing. We'll double check the self-standing when the bag's fully packed out, but I suspect it's not gonna be the best travel self-standing bag on the market. On the sides, we also have some handles, which I think are gonna be a little controversial. So you can see sort of how thin these handles are. Now again, sort of pro and a con with that. Pro side, less weight, less bulk, a bit more sexification, but they're not gonna be the most comfortable handles. Notice there's no real padding, right? So if you're somebody who really likes a beefy top handle, which let's be honest, you're not gonna be carrying the bag around that long like that, but for those short little spurts that you are, it is nice to have, especially when you're popping the bag in the overhead bin. This thing can be heavy, right? So when you are using those handles, some people appreciate a bit more padding. But if you prefer your bag to look a bit more streamlined and sleek, these handles will definitely work for you. And on either side of the handles, we have some external lash points, so you can clip things onto the bag on the outside. This side pocket's pretty useful. Definitely a great spot for a water bottle, or gives you quick access to something you might need quicker access to, like your phone, passport, wallet. But for most people, it will be used for a water bottle, and we'll test out what kind of water bottles it can fit when the bag is fully packed out. You can see I got a bunch of travel stuff that I would use for a 35-liter backpack, which I think is good for, I don't know, it depends on how you pack, right? Like, I mean, if you're a heavy packer, you might only get like 1 or 2 days worth of stuff in a bag like this. But if you're like me and you're super minimalist, I traveled the US for a month last summer on just a 22-liter backpack, so almost, I don't know, 50% smaller than this. Now, what I love about this main compartment is there's no additional organization, no other pockets, just a clean old canyon, which means you can throw things like packing cubes in there, tech pouch, dop kit, hoodie, another tech pouch on the side, and then on the flip side, you can see we got these mesh pockets. I like these mesh pockets because they have their own volume built into them, so there's quite a bit of room to fit bulkier bits of gear. So for instance, I'm gonna put a book and a hard drive, both in this top pocket, and they'll definitely fit. The mesh though itself, while see-through, which is nice, it's a bit on the stickier side, or should I say maybe like on the harsher side. There's no stretch to it, there's no elasticity, which I usually prefer for my mesh, but it does get the job done. And you can see we can close this bad boy up. And to be honest, this thing's got, this thing packs a punch. I'd say it definitely feels right around the 35-liter point. I will say though, like it feels bulkier than a typical 35-liter bag, or should I say bigger? But overall, it definitely feels like around 35 liters worth of stuff that I'd bring on a trip. Now let's just test some capacity stuff out real fast. Because on the bottom, like I said, we have that pocket, but this pocket is actually, competing with space for the main compartment. So if you want to get some shoes in there, you just got to make sure that there is enough space to make it all happen. So I got my shoe bag here. You can see, pretty nice. 24-ounce Columbia water bottle. I'm gonna pop that in on the side, and you're probably not gonna get much bigger of a water bottle in the bag. These sort of any Audi water bottle holders, they're great because they do keep the bag sleeker. So you can see now this is not like sticking out, knocking people over when you're rushing through the airport to try and grab your flight. But again, we're competing for space with the main compartment. But overall, as you can see, I packed it out and it looks, pretty freaking good. The design of the bag really makes it look quite nice, I think, when it's fully packed out. It doesn't have like a blobby sort of effect to it. These two pleats right here are giving you a lot of extra space on the top of the bag. And because there's no admin compartment, like a lot of bags would have this sort of like front pocket, right, where you can fit stuff. You're not then competing for space with the admin compartment and then with this compartment, so it actually can fit a decent amount of stuff. And what's kind of cool is that Westernrise gave you this quick access side pocket here. This just gives you the ability to grab something a little bit faster if you don't want to go full open clamshell style. Typically, this is something that is seen on more photographer bags, right? Because you might want to keep your camera cube there, so you can zip it up, grab what you need. I'm not really like a huge user of features like this, but it doesn't really add much weight or complications to the bag, and it does give you that extra point of access for those times that you need it. And then back to the self-standing thing, you can see, we are indeed self-standing, not perfectly, but we're getting some leaning Tower of Pisa action. And what you gotta keep in mind when it comes to self-standing of this bag, if it's important to you, is that A, it's not the flattest bottom, and B, it's not a very padded bag, which is great because it keeps the weight down. But it's gonna mean that it might not stand as perfectly as you want, but that will also depend on how you pack it out, because we got shoes in there right now, right? So if you wanna build a bit more solid of a base, like with a packing cube, flatter bottom, you got a much better chance. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, we're going really in depth with packing this bag out. I love it. Backpacks are awesome. I want more. Then I gotta tell you that here at Nomads Nation, we don't just do epic bag and gear reviews on our YouTube channel, but we also have the Nomads Nation newsletter. And in that newsletter, I take you personally on a deep dive into the greatest and coolest events that's happening in the world of gear. So if you love travel and EDC and you want delivered conveniently to your inbox all the top stories for the best deals, the newest drops, the coolest collabs, plus our own discount codes and exclusive giveaways, then you're gonna wanna sign up to the Nomads Nation newsletter, which you can do so by finding this globe emoji in the description below. I hope to see you in your inbox. Okay, let's talk about the back of the Western Rise Voyager Travel Pack 35 liter. Now on the back, we have two pockets to discuss, the first of which being this big old tech compartment. I gotta admit, now that I'm thinking about the laptop compartment, and this is like a 35 to 40 liter bag. Like it feels like it's in that range in terms of its capacity. Because we've got a lot of volume in this compartment as well, which includes a mesh pocket at the top and two tech sleeves, one of which is magnetic. On the other side, let's pack it out. Starting with the laptop compartment, 13-inch MacBook Pro, slides in, piece of cake. Got a cutout of a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which we are getting in there, but with a 17-inch Vivo book from Asus fit. Oh my lord, it absolutely will. But keep in mind, the larger the laptop, the less likely the magnetic closure will actually close. I'm no laptop specialist, but some of y'all out there might say this is bad for the demagnetization of the laptop. I don't know, but I know that the 17-incher were pushed all the way down to the bottom, and this magnet is connecting to the actual laptop itself. Might not be a good thing. But again, with a 13-inch MacBook Pro, the way it should be. I got a 12-inch fake iPad, slides into the tablet compartment very nicely. This tech compartment, it feels pretty well padded. For the laptop sleeve, actually, let me just check the false bottom. So on the back panel, we have a little bit of curvature going on here, which is pretty common, but even at the bottom, we got a pretty epic false bottom. Yeah, right there. So the laptop compartment actually ends right here, which creates the false bottom that I'm referring to, which means if you drop the bag, your laptop is going to be protected. Which if you're a bit more, let's say obnoxious like me and a bit more clumsy, that can come in handy. Mesh pocket could be a good location for quick access tech stuff like a big old power bank, or maybe a passport sized notebook. Last pocket is this guy right here, which is sort of a quick access pocket that utilizes a very nice microfiber material. Now that's communicating to me that we should be putting our glasses there, because microfiber, this fabric right here, has scratch resistant properties. So you can throw the shades in there and it won't scratch them. But unfortunately, I don't think this is the best placement for this, because in essence, you've got laptop here, your back here, and the sunglasses pocket actually goes down to about here, right? So when you're wearing the bag, your shades are literally stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place, as in a bit of your back and your laptop. When your bag is fully packed out, yeah, I wouldn't put your $400 Ray-Bans in. Maybe in a protective case, but definitely not without. But if you're like me and you use cheap $15 sunglasses from Amazon and you don't care about their well-being, I guess it works. Harness system. I wore this bag outside for the last 20 minutes while we were shooting our B-roll. Overall, I thought it was pretty comfortable. Now, beneath the harness system is, like I said, that luggage pass-through holder, which allows you to connect the bag to your suitcase. It's a little awkward doing these side ones, but the good news is that we've fully packed out the bag. And because of this kind of a design, which I've obviously seen many times, having reviewed a few bags, this design allows it to get on the trolley sleeve without too much tightness. Like, it's just a really easy fit once you're actually able to lift it on the actual trolley sleeve. But you can see just how reinforced this is. Back panel's not gonna come ripping off anytime soon. A lot of people prefer the bag to be standing upright, but for a larger bag like this at almost 22 inches, I think sideways is probably the way to go. Decent padding on the back panel. Now, before we talk about the comfort, one cool thing about the shoulder straps is they're connected magnetically right here. You better be Woojin or Duraflex at this price point. What do we got? Woojin, thank God. Because one thing to note is I think that at this price point, the fabric not being brand name like Cordura is, not my favorite, but at least we got the best hardware. But you can see, you can unbuckle that shoulder strap and then you can go ahead and stow away in here. And here's the deal, I've reviewed a few bags. I've seen shoulder stowaway systems in every shape and form. There's so many different ways that you can do it. I've never seen one like this before though, as to where you can see each shoulder strap has its own independent sleeve, which sounds cool and fresh and clean. But when the bag's fully packed out, as you can see, I'm having a difficult time really getting the shoulder strap 100% in there. I'm sure that you can kind of like do one of these. It's It's easier when the bag's not fully packed out, but you're probably never gonna do it when the bag's not fully packed out, right? The whole goal of this is like, hey, I'm about to go on my flight. I don't want the shoulder straps dangling all over the place. I mean, putting it in the carry-on bin over top or underneath the seat in front of me. You just wanna kind of do it real fast when the bag's packed out. This system, it's all right. It's okay. It kind of works. On the shoulder straps themselves, we have no external lash points, which I'm a big fan of, but I know some people like to have like these, places that they can clip things onto and carry things on the outside of their bag. The lack of them does not bother me though. And then we got the sternum strap right here. You can see we've got the rail, which allows you to easily readjust where you put the strap. And then we got a hip belt on the bottom as well. Let's sort of test it all out. And I'll give you my assessment of the comfort, because like I said, I was wearing outside for 20 minutes. I think, keep in mind, this is Western Rise's first bag. So a lot of times you see companies do their first bag, and it's a good bag, but in like the carry community, we get a lot of great bags. Now, a really great travel bag for some of us in this very nerdy community will have load lifters at the top, which aren't really like load lifters in like the traditional sense of the word, but more like shoulder strap stabilizers that just kind of help, take a little bit of pressure off your back, which this bag does not have, which at 35 liters might be a bit controversial. Shoulder straps, I could use maybe a bit more padding, but if you like your shoulder straps to be a little thinner and less oppressive, then you'll much more appreciate the system. Now, the waist belt also attaches via magnets. Woojin? Yes, Woojin. Now, this is also, I don't want to say it's an average waist belt, because it kind of depends on what you want. If you're looking for ultimate comfort, this is not going to be the ultimate waist belt, because an ultimate comfort waist belt will be really thick, really padded, and much better redistributes the weight of the bag to your hips and takes it off your back. But those hip belts can be really beefy and heavy and just annoying as right? So if you just want a little bit of a lighter solution that takes a bit of weight, not as much as it would if it was a beefier one, then this is nice because it's, just not as heavy and it gives you a bit of back relief. We do got a bit of excess dangle going on here. I'm a skinny dude, right? Like I said, 5'8". Here at Nomads Nation, we're always trying to stop the dangle, but I think Western Rise actually did a pretty good job overall. And yeah, like I said, it's a comfy bag. I wouldn't put it quite on the level of like the Tortuga Light travel backpack, which is one of the most comfortable travel bags that I've ever reviewed. But then again, it's lighter and less bulky than that bag, so remember, everything in the world of bags and life in general is a trade-off. Now remember, comfort is always subjective, so if you want to know what anybody thinks about the comfort of this bag, I really recommend checking out the Nomads Nation subreddit, and you can ask any questions there. It's our community of bag nerds. Ask about this bag, any other bags that you think, compare and contrast, whatever. That's where us bag nerds congregate, so be sure to check that out as well. All right, let's talk about the overall pros and the cons of the Western Rise Voyager Travel Pack 35. Pro number one is, I actually think for a travel bag, it's got a really nice aesthetic. Pro number two, it's gonna be a bag that gives you a decent amount of weather resistance. And pro number three, I kind of like this bottom pocket. It's different. You don't see a lot of travel bags that have it, and it just gives you different ways to sort of customize how you travel. But on the flip side, I got some cons, and here they are. Con number one is the handles might be too thin for many of you out there. Con number two is the shoulder strap stowage solutions. It is not the best that I've ever seen. And con number three is going to be the lack of load lifters. But again, if you are still watching this and you have evaluated the pros and the cons, and you're thinking to yourself, I might pick one of those bad boys up, or you just want to find out more information, again, we highly suggest you do so using the first link in the description below. That's where you can get the best price, and if there's any discount codes, that's what they'll be. But if we're getting pretty close with this bag, let's talk about some more specific alternatives. Alternative recommendation number one is going to be the Tortuga Travel Backpack Lite. Great pick for you if you like what's happening with sort of the minimalist, approach of this travel bag, but you want a bag that places a bit more emphasis on comfort. Tortuga's got the beefy hip belt, load lifters, a bit more padding on the shoulder straps and the back panel. And alternative recommendation number two, it's going to be the Peak Design Travel Backpack. Great pick for you if you really like this aesthetic. I think the Peak Design is sort of like a very similar aesthetic, but you want some more features because Peak Design Travel Bag is known for like having some of the coolest features out of any travel bag that I've ever seen. Honestly, all three bags have their own pros and cons. They're all awesome in their own way. And to find out if these two alternatives are better picks for you, just go ahead and watch these videos right here. If you got any questions about any bags, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Aaron. This is Nomads Nation, and we'll catch you next time.